people, welcome back to my channel. My name is Megan. In today's video we are doing my birthday book haul because I went a little crazy this month with buying books. Book of the month gave me a free credit for my birthday month. I went a little crazy with my credit card. Like, credit card limit doesn't exist in your birthday month, and I bought way too many books at Target. And then the thrift gods blessed me this month at the thrift store, and I just found so many amazing books thrifting this month. So like, we have quite a lot to talk about. So let's get into it because this video is going to be a long one because there's lots of books. But first, we're going to start with my book of the month selections for the month of May, and the first two kind of go together, so we're going to talk about them together. And the first two I picked up are both of Abby Jimenez's books. We have Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez and Part of Your World, also by Abby Jimenez. So this was Abby Jimenez release for 2022. I read it, I listened to the audiobook, I rated it 5 stars. I absolutely loved it, and I knew I needed to own a physical copy, so what better time to pick it up than when I'm picking up Yours Truly, which is her 2023 release. This one you're following two doctors, so it is a workplace romance. I don't know too much about it. I know like the doctors don't really like each other at first, so it's a bit of enemies to lovers, although I like to use the term dislike to like when we're talking about contemporary romances, because in a contemporary romance, is there really ever like true enemies to lovers? Like, I don't think so. That's like a fantasy romance thing, okay? So this is kind of like dislike to like romance, and also I think the hero of the story ends up being a kidney donor for the heroine's brother, so there's like a big connection there. So I think it's like a deep emotional romance, but also light and fluffy. I don't know. I really loved her last book for that same reason. Like, it put a smile on your face and it was a good book, but it was also kind of a more emotional romance. And yeah, I just really enjoyed this one, so I'm sure I'm going to enjoy this one. And then the last book I picked up from Book of the Month is Adelaide by Genevieve Wheeler. This is a contemporary fiction novel which has a little bit of romance in here, but not like a nice beautiful romance like Abby Jimenez's book. In this book, you're following our main character Adelaide. She is an American living in London, and she falls in love with an Englishman named Rory, and it's one of those relationships where she is just so over the top in love with him and kind of blinded by that love that she doesn't realize that he doesn't really reciprocate that same love back to her and doesn't really treat her the way that she treats him. And then one day Rory goes through this tragic event and is dealing with a lot of grief, and Adelaide is kind of there to pick up the pieces and help put him back together, and she doesn't realize the toll that is taking on her own mental health. And it's basically about loving someone too much and them not loving you back, and it's also kind of about being there to try to fix people but not taking care of your own mental health. So I think this is a book that is going to be relatable to a lot of people. It's going to be just like a very realistic romance. Instead of a cute fluffy romance, they have a meet cute moment and they end up together at the end. I think this is like a more realistic view at relationships, and I'm very excited to read this one. I've heard so many great things about it, and the cover is so cute and summery. Like, of course I need to read it this summer. It's a cute cover, but like, I don't think it's a cute book, okay? I think it's more emotional than cute. Now we're going to talk about all the books that I bought retail this month. I kind of bought most of them at Target, 2 from Amazon, 1 was a Barnes & Noble pre-order, so let's get into it. So the first one I picked up is This Delicious Stuff by Kayla Cunningham. Now this is a YA horror novel, which I've never read a YA horror before, so I'm really interested to see how I like the genre. In this book, you're following a group of girls, a group of friends, and in their world, there is kind of a zombie apocalypse. People are affected by the zombie virus, but instead of killing humans, they've come up with a thing called synflesh, which is synthetic human flesh, so fake human flesh that the zombie affected humans can feast on, so that way they're not killing actual humans. And so all these girls, they go to a music festival, but someone wants to sabotage the zombie humans. And what they do is, well, we don't really know what they do because that's part of the mystery of the book, but what happens is one of the group of girls in this friend group goes and kills one of the members of the bands performing at this music festival, and kind of all hell breaks loose, and it is a very bloody event, and they're trying to figure out who is sabotaging the zombies and what is going on and why are they doing this. I am very excited about this. It's YA horror, but it's definitely summer vibes. I mean, look at this cute little cooler on the front. Like, first of all, love that. And it's like music festival, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many summer vibes in here. I just think it's gonna be such a fun summer read. And like, YA horror, like, it can't be too scary, right? Because it's YA. The next book I picked up is Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. If you recognize this book, you saw me read it then in my reading top 3 trending books on Goodreads video. If you haven't seen that video, go check it out. I bought and read this book in the same month. What a concept, you guys. Read same month. Like, when's the last time that I've actually done that? So in this book, you are following our main characters, Annie and Will, and it is dual POV, which I absolutely love. And Annie is a florist, and she kind of has those good girl vibes. And then Will is a bodyguard, and he has the bad boy vibes. And it is a fake dating romance. It is so cute. I absolutely love it. And I mean, I guess it's not really fake dating. It's more like practice dating romance, like, because they're not pretending to be boyfriend and girlfriend, but they do go on dates because he's trying to help her practice dating because she's not good at it. And honestly, It's just so cute, and it has small town vibes in it. And if you liked It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey and you really enjoy the small town vibes and the side characters in that book, then I think you'll really enjoy this book, because I felt like very similar vibes to that fishing village to the small town here in Rome, Kentucky. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I rated it 4.5 stars, and it's just a really fun read, so I highly recommend to pick it up. The next book I picked up is A Spinster's Guide to Dangers and Dukes by Amanda Collins. This is a historical romance, which who am I buying a historical romance? Honestly, I can't give you a synopsis for this. I have no idea what it's about. What happened with this book? Let me tell you. I was going through Bookstagram. I saw someone post this on their Bookstagram. They're like, oh my god, I loved it. So cute, whatever. I was like, okay, cool, whatever. I go to Target. It's buy one, get one 50% off books. I had 3 books I wanted, and I just needed another book to, like, you know, get that 50% off the book thing, you know what I mean? Because buy one, get one 50 off. You need 2 books to function. I had 3. I needed a 4th. And I literally just picked this up. I was like, oh, I recognize that one. Pick it up, put in cart. No idea what it's about, but we're going to broaden our horizons. We're going to read a historical romance, and hopefully it goes well. I've only read one historical romance before, which was the first Bridgerton novel. I rated it 3 stars. Overall, I really enjoyed it, minus the one problematic scene in that book, which is why it was a 3-star. But if you remove that problematic scene from the first Bridgerton novel, I really enjoyed it. So, you know, I just haven't really delved into historical romance, but maybe I'm a historical romance girly. We just don't know yet. The next book I picked up is For Her Consideration by Amy Spalding. This is a sapphic romance that takes place in Hollywood. You're following our main characters, Nina and Ari. I'm not sure if it's dual POV or not, but those are the 2 love interests of the book. We have Nina, who went to LA with hopes of being a screenwriter, and then she goes through a bad breakup and she ends up moving back home, and her new job is to be a ghostwriter for celebrity emails. So she basically handles celebrity email accounts and emails, I guess, their fans back. And one of the celebrities, Ari, reaches out to her and wants to get to know her ghostwriter, and then they kind of develop a relationship. Ari kind of helps her build her confidence again and tries to get her to find her passion again in writing, and that's what this book is about. It sounds really cute, fun. It says on the back for fans of Casey McQuiston, which I'm a fan of Casey McQuiston. The next book I picked up is Lying in the Deep by Diana Urban. This is like another YA horror book, I believe, or it's like a YA thriller. I don't know. YA horror, YA thriller, same genre. I mean, it's not, but it is. I don't know. Anyway, we have this book, and in this book, you are following our main character, Jade, and she goes on this, like, campus on a cruise type of situation, like think Sweet Life on Deck. That's this, but make it horror. So she goes on this, and she has just gone over a bad breakup. Her boyfriend and her best friend ended up getting together. So her boyfriend cheated on her with her best friend. Like, imagine. And they get together, and she's just like kind of heartbroken about it. So she's like, okay, I'm going on this campus cruise because, like, peace out. I need to get away from my life. She gets on board. And who is on board but her ex-best friend and her ex-boyfriend being all cutesy lovey couple together? And she's like, oh, hell no. And then someone ends up in a body bag. Someone ends up dead. And she's like, oh my god, there is a killer on board. And then she teams up with this guy, and she gets a crush on him, and there's like a little romance there, and they're trying to find a killer because then another person ends up dead. And things like, again, Sweet Life on Deck, but make it bloody, make it And Then They Were None by Agatha Christie. There we go. Although, like, I should not say And Then We Were None by Agatha Christie, because nowhere in this flap does it mention that. I'm just putting that into this book, okay? Like, they did not pitch it that way, but I'm pitching it that way. So we have this one again, like another perfect YA horror for summertime, like a cruise ship and murder, and it says obsession, it says romance, jealousy, obsession, and trapped on board with a killer. I was sold as soon as I picked it up. The next book I picked up is The Foxglove King by Hannah Witten. She is the author for the Wolf, which was a book that has been on my radar for a while, and I actually ended up buying it through Kindle Daily Deals, so I have the ebook for it. Haven't gotten around to it yet, but I own it. And this is her latest release, her latest series. I think For the Wolf was a duology, and this says it's going to be a new epic fantasy series, so I am very excited about it. I'm just going to read you the little blurb on the inside. It says, in this gilded gothic and romantic epic fantasy series, a young woman's secret power to raise the dead plunges her into the dangerous world of the Sainted King's royal court. It just sounds so much fun. I am very excited to read it. I don't know, this is just an author that's been on my radar, had a cool synopsis to it. I was like, it's my birthday month, treat yourself, and I bought it. The next book I picked up is The Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros, and of course I was influenced by everybody when purchasing this book, because I have seen this all over Book Talk, Bookstagram, BookTube, just like always on my Goodreads homepage, always on the Barnes & Noble's homepage. Like, obviously I have been influenced, and look at that just. Like, of course you're gonna buy it. In this book, you're following our main character, Violet, and she is kind of weak and fragile, which is not the qualities you want to be a dragon rider. But her mom is a commanding general, and she was like, no, you need to enter this thing because you need to be a dragon rider. So she goes to this war college, and it's basically about her trying to bond with the dragons, become a dragon rider, and overcome the obstacles of like her physical abilities. And it says, enter the brutal and elite world of a war college for dragon riders. Then it says, friends, enemies, lovers, everyone at Bagasath War College has an agenda, because once you enter, there are only two ways out: graduate or die. Does that not sound amazing? And then on the back it says, a dragon without its rider is a tragedy. A rider without their dragon is dead. I've heard so many great things. The synopsis sounds like so much fun. So yeah, very excited for this one. The next two books I picked up go together. I ordered them from Amazon. We have The Serpent and the Wings of Night, and then we have The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, both by Carissa Broadbent. This is her newest romance fantasy duology, and there's also a novella in between, which I did read, but I didn't buy the physical copy of it. Anyways, doesn't matter. So we have these books. So first we'll talk about this one. We have The Serpent and the I'm combining titles over here. We have The Serpent and the Wings of Night. So in this book, you are following our main character, Araya, and she is the daughter of the Vampire King, but she is like the adopted daughter. He found her in a war-torn area. He took her in and he raised her as his own, and she is this human living in a vampire world. So she kind of lives a life of seclusion within the castle, but he's trained her to be a fighter, and he wants her to enter the Kajari, which is a tournament that happens once every 100 years, and the winner of the competition gets a wish from the goddess Naxia, and she will grant you any wish that you ask for. So her father, the king, wants her to wish for this, and so she cannot be so weak within this vampire world anymore. And this competition is kind of a Hunger Games-esque competition. There's all these vampires that join in, but only one can be a winner, and everyone else ends up dead. So it is such a fun book. I absolutely love this. Also, there's a main character. I cannot forget Rain in this book. We have our main character Rain in this book as well. He is one of the competitors, and they form an alliance in the beginning, and it's kind of about their alliance developing and their romance that blossoms within that, and about them going through this like deadly competition together, obviously having some sort of romance. So yeah, it's super fun. It's super cool. I rated it 4 stars. This was also in my reading top 3 trending books on Goodreads video. I read this on my Kindle, but I absolutely loved it, so I went out and bought the physical copy, and then I bought the sequel, which is The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, and this one is the sequel and finale, I guess. This is a duology, so there's only 2 books, but she said she's gonna write more books in the Crowns of Naxia like series, but this is like ending Araya and Rain's story with these 2 books. So this one just takes place in the aftermath of the first book, and that's really all I can say because I can't give anything away. If I tell you anything about the synopsis of this one, it's obviously going to spoil the ending of this one, because the ending of this one was absolutely insane and jaw-dropping. So yeah, I only read up to 16 pages of this. So I started it last night. I got 16 pages in before I had to take a break, which is not very much, but you know, you read when you read. I filmed an intro for this like thing, and I was going to do a spoiler-free reading vlog of The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, so if you're interested in that, comment down below and let me know. But yeah, so that's what I was kind of planning to do. So we'll see if I end up finishing that video. There's so many vlogs I start and I just never finish. It's a bad habit of mine. The next book I picked up is Happy Place by Emily Henry. This one I had pre-ordered from Barnes & Noble because it is a signed edition. And this book, I read it, this also for my reading top 3 trending books on Goodreads video, and this book overall was pretty good. I think I rated it 4 stars. In this book, you were following our 2 main characters. I kind of forgot their names. I'm terrible at names. Harriet and Wynne. There we go. You're following Harriet and Wynne, and you're reading it all from Harriet's perspective though, so it's like it's a singular POV romance novel. And this book, they were in a relationship for about 10 years. I think 10 years, I don't remember. Oh my god, I'm so bad at this. They were in a relationship for a long time, okay? And then they break up, and they don't tell their friends that they broke up because they're all kind of living in different parts of the country too, so it's not like they see each other all the time, but they always meet annually for a trip. And they kind of discussed that Harriet was just going to go on this trip and he was just going to like make up an excuse, and when she went on the trip, she was planning on telling her girlfriends that they broke up. Well, she goes on the trip, Wynne happens to be there, and she's like, what is happening? Why are you here? And then her friends announce that they are getting married, and that they are getting married at the end of the week. So this weekend, or this week-long trip, turns into a wedding weekend trip, and she's like, okay, now I can't tell them because I don't want to ruin their wedding week. And so they pretend to be in a relationship still, and then everything happens from there. Obviously, we're talking about their past relationship, we're getting flashback scenes, and then also dealing with the present. And honestly, I didn't love this as much as I loved Emily Henry's previous work. Like, I love Beach Read, love Book Lovers. This one I didn't love as much because, I don't know, I felt like this book was more on the sad side of things because you're following our people grieving their like 8-year relationship, and it's just kind of sad, and I don't know, didn't love it. You know, I'm noticing an Emily Henry pattern. We have Beach Read, enemies to lovers, then people we meet on vacation, Friends to lovers, loved this, didn't love this. And we have book lovers, back to enemies to lovers, loved it. And then we have Happy Place, which is kind of in the same vein, I feel like, as Friends to Lovers, because it's second chance romance, and I didn't love it. So if we're following the trend, then her next book is going to be an enemies to lovers, and I'm going to love it. So those are my predictions. Now we're going to go over all the books that I thrifted this month, because I thrifted quite a bit of books this month. I have like 3 stacks of books here. So first, let's start with our hardcover stack. So the first book I picked up this month is The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. Now I already own this book, and I owned the paperback version of it, but I found the hardcover version of it, so I just bought it at the thrift store for like $2. Then I took my original paperback and then I donated it to the thrift store. So we had like a full circle moment there. And you're like, oh, you replaced your paperback with a hardcover. This must mean you really like the book. No idea. Haven't read it yet, but I've heard a lot of amazing things about it. It's a historical fiction World War II story, and I believe it's supposed to be turned into a movie, although like they keep saying it's coming out and it's never coming out, I guess. But I think it's starring Elle and Dakota Fanning, right? I think. So, I don't know. I plan on reading this sometime in my future. Hopefully 2023 is the year. The next book I picked up is The Cloisters by Katie Hayes. This is a like dark academia book. In this book, you're following our main character, and she works at the Cloisters Museum, which is like a gothic museum. And then she finds like a deck of tarot cards, and I think something happens with those. I don't know. I remember reading the synopsis for like my book of the month predictions, or when it was a book of the month selection, and then I was interested in it, but not enough to get it from book of the month and not enough to buy it from Barnes & Noble, but at a thrift store for $2. Hello, of course I'm interested. So this book, I'm gonna read you like the little blurb at the top. It says, behind the closed doors of the cloisters, shocking secrets and a mysterious deck of tarot cards spark a deadly power game within a close-knit group of researchers. And honestly, look at the end papers. They're so gorgeous. I'm so excited to read this book. The next book I picked up is The Comeback by Ella Berman. This was a 2020 release, but I've never really heard anybody talk about this or a lot of hype behind it, but it is a literary fiction novel, and I saw it at the thrift store. I read the synopsis of it, and it sounded like really intriguing to me and like a book I wanted to read, so I picked it up. You're following our main character, who is a successful actress, but on the eve of her Golden Globes nomination, she just disappears completely from the spotlight. And then I'm going to read you the little synopsis at the top. It says, a deep dive into the psyche of a young actress raised in the spotlight under the influence of a charming, manipulative film director, and the moment when she decides his time is up. It just sounds really interesting. It sounds like a darker book, obviously. It kind of gives me the vibes of My Dark Vanessa, which is a book that is also on my TBR. So yeah, it kind of gave me similar vibes to that, and I really like the cover. I think it'll be interesting, so we'll see. I'll report back. The next book I thrifted this month is You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty. In this book, you're following our main character, and 5 years ago, the love of her life died in an accident, and you're watching her obviously 5 years later, so she's kind of over that initial grieving period, but of course you're always grieving, and now she's found someone that she's truly interested in and truly loves again, and is kind of dealing with her moving on from that relationship and going into a new relationship and dealing with all the thoughts and feelings and emotions that go with that. Honestly, the reason I got this is, well, one, I've heard about this book and I heard a lot of great things about this book, but the cover of this book is absolutely stunning, and I was like, I know this is like deep and emotional, but this gives me such summer vibes. We're going into summertime, so like of course like I picked it up. The next book I picked up is The Reunion by Kayla Olson. This was a book of the month selection in January, and I found it at the thrift store actually the same time I found this one, so like I wonder if it was like the same person who donated them, because I feel like someone who read this obviously read this. And again, this gave me such summer vibes, this cover. I wasn't really intrigued by the synopsis when I saw it at book of the month, but again, at the thrift store, like, of course I'm gonna buy it. So in this book, you're following our main character, Liv, and she kind of grew up in the spotlight, and she was on this popular teen drama show. And then we're fast forward 20 years later, a streaming service has invited the whole cast back to do a reunion special. She sees her old co-star, sparks are flying, and it's a second chance romance. And honestly, I bought it for the summer vibes. We're going into summer. Like, you're telling me, like, I had to thrift these two books together. Like, obviously, when I found this one and this one, like, they just go together, okay? They're giving me summer vibes, and I'm all about the summer vibes right now, so I picked that up. The next book I picked up is actually another book of the month find, and this one is from February, and that is Georgie All Along by Kate Claiborne, and this is a romance novel, I believe. Honestly, I don't even know what it's about, but I picked it up because it was February 2023 book of the month. I found it at the thrift store in May, so obviously I was like, okay, put in cart, check out. I will read it at some point in my life. The next book I picked up, I actually showed you guys this in my April wrap up because I bought it at the end of April, but it wasn't in my April book haul, so we're showing it in the May book haul, and that is The London Sand Society by Sarah Penner. So I actually read this book right when it came out, and I read the book of the month edition. Well, actually I listened to the audiobook because it was on Hoopla, but whatever. I owned the book of the month edition. Then I found this edition at the thrift store. I bought it and then I donated my book of the month edition. So again, another full circle moment. This edition is so stunning. I showed this in my April wrap up. Like, it's just gorgeous. Like, how am I supposed to leave this behind at the thrift store? Like, I'm obviously not gonna do that. And now it matches my other one because I have the Lost Apothecary. Oh, I guess I should do it this way. I have the Lost Apothecary right here. So like, it just looks better. And I have two like normal editions instead of like Lost Apothecary up here and then my random book of the month edition up there. You know what I mean? So yeah, I picked this one up. It's like a stunning book and I got it at Goodwill. There you go, $4.99. I rated it 3 stars, so I didn't really enjoy it that much. But you know what? It's beautiful and it's on my shelves now. This is the last hardcover I picked up, and then we're getting into my paperback stack. So the last hardcover I picked up, which is actually the first book I picked up this month, and that is The Bands of Mourning by Brandon Sanderson. Now this book, I am not going to be reading this book for a long time. This book is far into the second era of Mistborn, and I haven't even started era 1. I mean, I read the first 100 pages of Mistborn and then I DNF'd it, but not in like a, oh, I hated this book. I actually was really enjoying it, but I went into my reading slump and now I just feel like I need to restart the whole book. I don't know, it's the whole thing. Anyway, so I need to like eventually get to this book, but it's not gonna be anytime soon. But I thrifted it. So I was like, you know what, we're just gonna pick it up because I know I'm gonna read it in the future. We just bought it now. Now we're getting into my paperback stack. So the first book we have is The Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose. This is a book that's been on my radar for a while, so I was so excited to find it at the thrift store. I think I audibly gasped because the premise of this book is just so interesting. So in this book, you're following our main character, and she is like a powerful defense attorney, and she is happily married, or so she thinks. Her husband is actually having an affair, and she learns that her husband's having an affair when his mistress ends up dead and he is pinned for the murder. So now she is defending her husband in the trial of his mistress's death. It says, would you defend your husband if he was accused of killing his mistress? It sounds so interesting. I'm so excited to read this one. It sounds like my cup of tea. It sounds like my type of mystery thriller, and this one is moving high up on the priority list of my TBR. And at the same thrift store, I also thrifted this book, which is Fix Her Up by Tessa Bailey. This is the first book in the Hot and Hammered series, and I really debated on picking this book up because, as you can see, it is well loved. It is well loved. Whoever read this, they loved this book. They wore this book out. So like, it's a little used. I mean, all my books are used, but like, it's a little, like the wear, it's a little worn, I guess I should say. But you know, I'm okay with that. Who really cares? I'm probably gonna listen to the audiobook anyway. Next book I picked up is Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie, and honestly, I might sound stupid, but I did not know that this was a book. I did not realize that Peter Pan was a classic that was then turned into a Disney movie. I just thought it was a Disney movie. It came from Disney's head and like, here we go, here's the movie. No, apparently it's a book. It is one of my favorite Disney movies ever. So now I have to read the book and I'm very excited about it. So yeah, I'll read this eventually. Honestly, this is a classic that will probably be higher up on my priority list of the classics that I own because it's Peter Pan and I love Peter Pan. The next 2 books I picked up are both by the same author, and that was Colleen Hoover. So the first one I picked up is Confess by Colleen Hoover. No idea what it's about. Colleen Hoover, I've never read any of her books before, but I've thrifted quite a few of them. So I just kind of buy them when I see them because obviously she's popular TikTok. I want to read them eventually. But her synopsis never really draw me in. So therefore, I haven't read any of them yet. But when I find them, I buy them, and no idea what this is about. Then the next one I picked up is Losing Hope, also by Colleen Hoover. And I looked this one up on Goodreads, and apparently this is like in a series, and there's books that come before this. So I'm not going to really be reading this anytime soon, but I found it and I bought it. I mean, I didn't know it was part of a series when I picked it up. The next 2 books I picked up are a duology, and these are also well-loved books, but it's okay. I really wanted to read them. And that is The Fixer and The Long Game, both by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. She is the author of the Inheritance Games trilogy, which I absolutely loved. I filmed books about that trilogy on my channel before, and it is so amazing. I absolutely loved it. And this series seems to have a similar vibe. You're following our main character is, again, a YA mystery thriller. Although, would you really call the Inheritance Games mystery thriller, or would you call this a mystery thriller? I don't know. I feel like it's more just mystery. It's a YA mystery, okay? And you're following our main character. She lives in DC, and she is like the fixer. It says like for fans of Scandal, which, hey, hello, hi, me. I love Scandal. I love Olivia Pope, and if this is anything like that, I'm there for it. So she basically like fixes the problems of the elite in Washington, DC. The Fixer. And then it's a duology. So then there's the second one, The Long Game, which I have no idea what it's about. I'm not reading the back of it because like spoilers, but yeah, they're not like in the best shape. We have like a Goodwill sticker. So someone bought this from Goodwill, read it, and then redonated it. And now we have this like ugly like Goodwill sticker here. This one's a little beat up, but you know what? I just want to read them. So there we go. And surprisingly, I looked these up in my my library. When I was at the thrift store, I was like, okay, maybe I'll just like borrow them from my library because these editions are a little beat up. These are on hold in my library, like for like a couple weeks. Like lots of people have interest in these, so I was like, okay, we'll just buy them now. The next book I thrifted this month is Forever Never by Lucy Score. No idea what this book is about. I literally picked it up because it's Lucy Score. Everybody loves Lucy Score. I'm a little scared of Lucy Score because all of her romance books are bricks. They're all chunkers, and I am not a chunky romance girl. If I could have all my romances like this small, I would. No, I'm not that small, but like, you know, like I'm a normal size romance girl, like a 300-page romance girl. Once we start getting into how many pages is this? Like over, oh my God, this is getting into the 500 pages. 500 pages for a romance, like it's scary to me, okay? I guess I'm just scared I'm gonna get bored. Like in a fantasy novel being 500 pages, I'm like, oh well, there's a lot of world building, there's like adventure, there's this, there's that, there's magic. But romances being 500 pages, I get a little intimidated because I'm like, oh my God, what if I get bored? Like, why do I have a fear of getting bored? Like I could literally just DNF the book. But yeah, I have no idea what it's about. I bought it because it said Lucy Score on it, and she's a TikTok fave. And the last 8 books I thrifted this month, I'm going to show you them all at once because I bought them all at once, and we're not going to go through each synopsis. I'm just going to show you the covers. So I bought someone's entire indie romance collection at the thrift store. So first it started with this one. I realized it was an indie romance, then I started looking, and then I started pulling them off the shelves, and all the covers had covers like this, and I was like, oh my God, someone just bought all these KU books in paperback and donated them. So I bought all of them, and I have no idea what any of them are about. I have not read the synopsises for them. Except for that one book I read the synopsis for. But anyway, I have not read the synopsises for them. I just bought them because they were indie romances at the thrift store. And I've said before that those are like harder to come by thrifting. So when I find them, especially 8 of them, of course I'm going to buy them. So we'll go through them really quick. If you've read any of them, let me know in the comments down below because, you know, I don't know anything about any of these books. We have Cocky Romantic by Philena Hopkins. We have Third Chances by Ivy Smoke. We have Empire High Untouchable, also by Ivy Smoke. We have Mr. Billions by Cassie Ann L. Miller. We have The Wedding Rescue by Ivy Lane. And we have these 3 books all by Nicole Snow, and they're all part of the same series. So we have Accidental Rebel, Accidental Knight, and Accidental Hero. And I'm here for it. Like, I know everyone's like, oh, I love the cartoon cover books, but like, no, like, give me this. Give me the hot man on the cover. So those are all the books that I bought and thrifted this month. And then we're gonna go over really quick what I got for my birthday because I got some cute bookish things for my birthday. So my best friend bought me this, a water bottle that has all these books on it, and it's like, remember your goal, and it has like books, and then it says just one more chapter, which is absolutely adorable. She also got me these socks that say fuck off, I'm reading, because she knows me so well. And she got me this shirt, which I pulled out of my laundry because I already wore it. And it says, it's a good day to read a book, which is absolutely adorable, and I love it. And then my boyfriend got me something. So what did he get me? First, he got me this, which is The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I haven't taken the plastic off it because I haven't had time to play it yet, but I am so excited. I love Breath of the Wild. I'm actually currently playing Breath of the Wild, and I want to beat it before I play this one, but he still got it for me, and I'm so thankful for it because Breath of the Wild is one of my favorite like Nintendo Switch games I've ever played. And this one, I know it's gonna be just as good. I've been watching people play this on the internet, and I have FOMO, and I'm jealous, and I want to play it, but first I gotta beat BOTW, so... Anyway, then he got me this pillow, which is a heart container from the Zelda. So like when you know this is your heart container, like when you get it from the goddess, you're like, oh, and this heart container comes down. And yeah, so this is a heart container pillow. And then the last thing he got me, I just have the box to show you, but it is Super Mario Princess Peach's Castle. So you know what? It was a great birthday. I bought a lot of great books this month. And if you saw me counting all the unread books on my bookshelf, well, now that number has increased exponentially because of all these books here. So now I gotta read them. Now I need to do reading vlogs that actually focus on my physical TBR instead of reading vlogs of books that I don't own. But you know, I don't know. We'll see. Talk to you guys later. Bye!